Enter the Stars, and I wanted to do this follow-up show on Scott Gottlieb because we found a possible connection between Scott Gottlieb and the director of the MK Ultra program, Stanley Gottlieb, from the 1950s. We're about 80 to 90% sure that the two are related, that Stanley is Scott's grandfather. Now, the reason for this follow-up is because I believe we found another connection that connects the two men together. You see, Scott Gottlieb was actually a member of the Biodefense Interagency Working Group to help draft a strategic plan for U.S. biodefense countermeasures. And long before there was a Biodefense Countermeasures Department, there was the bioweapons program in the 1950s, headed up at Fort Detrick. And Stanley, the MK Ultra director, was plugged into this program. So now we have another connection. Now, I looked up the United States biodefense program, and in fact, it is housed at Fort Detrick, the very place where Stanley, his grandfather, worked as well. As you can see here, both of these units were located at Fort Detrick, Maryland, where the U.S. Army Biological Warfare Laboratories were headquartered. The current mission is multi-agency. Here, again, they're talking about the anthrax attacks. And again, mentioned Fort Detrick. And as you can see here, the National Biodefense Analysis and Countermeasures Center is right here at Fort Detrick as well. Now, Gottlieb, when you look at his resume, looks like he did a lot of great things. He's trying to get drug prices down. But as we know, getting drug prices down isn't necessarily a good thing because more people will have access to these drugs. He also waged war against homeopathic drugs. And in February of 2019, Gottlieb took action to curtail the marketing of 17 dietary supplements. Now, the claim was that they were making unlawful and unproven medical claims to treat Alzheimer's disease. But we all know that if they don't want to do a study on something that they know might be effective, then they won't do a study. Studies are often funded by very rich people who want to make a profit on something. So if he wants to, look at the homeopathic market, maybe he should start using some of these billions of dollars that go through the government's hands to fund some research on some of these homeopathic elements. Right? Anyway, at the time, he unveiled a set of policy steps to strengthen the FDA's oversight of dietary supplements that was billed as the most significant modernization of the agency's regulation of supplements in 25 years. So this guy is not a friend, because many of us know that all of humanity was able to get by for thousands of years somehow, some way. And there were no pharmaceutical companies. So how did they do it? So this is what's going on. And he was part of this biodefense group at Fort Detrick, the same place where his alleged grandfather, worked. Now it says here, the U.S. Biological Defense Program began as a small defensive effort that parallels the country's offensive biological weapons development. So it's offensive as well. So it even gets more specific. The exact same thing that his grandfather was working on, and production program, active since 1943. Organizationally, the medical defense research effort was pursued first by the U.S. Medical Army Unit and later, after the publicly known discontinuation of the offensive program, by the U.S. Army Medical Research Institute of Infectious Diseases. Both of these units were located at Fort Detrick, where the U.S. Army Biological Warfare Laboratories were headquartered. So now we have a definitive link between the two men. Now, here's a story that I want to read. This is from Politico. The secret history of Fort Detrick, CIA's base for mind control experiments. Now, many of you already know about this, but there are some people that don't know about this program. The reason why we stumbled upon it was because Sidney Gottlieb, which is Scott's grandfather, secretly or covertly dosed a guy named Olson who knew too much about the MKUltra program. So they dosed him, and then this guy ended up allegedly jumping out of a window and died. That's how we stumbled onto this whole rabbit hole trail about this thing. And we're shocked to see that there was a probable connection to Scott Gottlieb, which was, of course, Thump's FDA appointment. Now, this guy was very aggressive. If you read his Wikipedia page, he was very aggressive. He was one of the most aggressive FDA frontmen in history, working on all kinds of fronts. He was the guy that was getting into, menthol cigarettes, as well as vapes, changing the way that went down. He did all kinds of stuff. He even was into mammograms. He changed mammogram legislation and stuff like this. Let's read about this. MKUltra. In 1954, a prison doctor in Kentucky isolated 7 black inmates and fed them double, triple, quadruple doses of LSD for 77 days straight. No one knows what became of the victims. They may have died without knowing that they were part of the CIA's highly secretive program to develop ways to control minds. What do you think's happening right now? Doesn't it feel like people are under some kind of mind control? Now, there is precedent for people being under the influence of LSD and having their minds controlled. Some of them jumping out of windows. Art Linkletter's daughter got on LSD and jumped out a window. Unbelievable. Let's keep reading here. A program based out of little-known Army base with a dark past, Fort Detrick. Suburban sprawl has engulfed Fort Detrick, an Army base 50 miles from Washington in the Maryland town of Frederick. 76 years ago, however, when the Army selected Detrick as the place to develop its super-secret plans to wage germ warfare, the area around the base looked much different. In fact, it was chosen for its isolation. That's because Detrick is still thriving today as the Army's principal base for biological research, and now encompassing nearly 600 buildings on 13,000 acres. Detrick is today one of the world's cutting-edge laboratories for research into toxins and antitoxins, a place where defenses are developed against every plague, from crop fungus to Ebola. Its leading role in the field is widely recognized. For decades, though, much of it went on at the base was closely held secret. Directors of CIA mind control program MKUltra, which used Detrick as a key base, destroyed most of the records in 1973. So that's what we were talking about earlier. Some of its secrets have been revealed in declassified documents through interviews as a result of congressional investigations. Together, those sources reveal Detrick's central role in MKUltra and in the manufacture of poisons intended to kill foreign leaders. So this is the story behind Fort Detrick. It was involved in World War II and after. And this was all about biological weapons. Now, the guy Olson that was drugged by Gottlieb, he was making claims that we had waged biological war against Korea. And it was apparent that they wanted to silence him because they did not want that getting out to the world because it was a secret program. The guy had a meltdown, and then they used this LSD to basically try to control him. And when they couldn't control him, they allegedly threw him out a window. So I just wanted to, tie the loop on this and let you guys know what the update was on this Gottlieb character. Now, I scoured the entire internet. I didn't find really anything else connecting the two men other than the genetic research we did on his ancestors and this connection with Fort Detrick, which to me is plenty of evidence. So that's the update. Much love, you guys. Take care and be safe.